Okay. All right. Welcome back to Spy X Family Anime Review, episode 22. This week, surprisingly, I'm covering two episodes. My guess is that they probably originally planned to release episode for last week because it was Thanksgiving. They delayed it by a week, and they didn't want to delay the next episode, so they released it. So we got a double feature for this week. Yep, so we cover episodes 31 and 32 of the series, which are called The Fearsome Luxury Cruise Ship and Who Is This Mission For? Combined, these episodes cover chapters 46 to 50. Yep, so there's a little bit of Frankie in here outside of the whole cruise ship stuff, where he's walking Bond in the park, and he runs into a beautiful woman, chats a bit, and that's it for him the whole episode. On the cruise ship, in the case with Anya and Lloyd are up to, first you see them where Anya is eating, and of course, like mentioned, the first time in a while they went out there without Yor there. Then later on we see him in a gift shop, which we'll get to what she sees a bit, because also that she wants his keychain, and well, she ends up not getting anything from this gift shop because because Lloyd is trying to be cool and he's like not cool at all. And then she's like, "Oh, gotta help Mama," and she ends up basically bopping her head like a pop, but she doesn't bleed. She just gets knocked because she's so tired. And of course, at the end of the episode, basically from their perspective, it's just them watching the fireworks, and that's pretty much it for the whole episode. Meanwhile, though, the two episodes. Meanwhile, though, in the case of Yor, she's with Okina, the woman who's the daughter of a gangster, and first you see her basically in this dinner lounge for first class, and it's like her director. By the way, he's referred to as director the whole episode. In the book, in the manga, he's always referred to as Director McMahon. He's never referred to as simply. For some reason, his real name is not mentioned in the episode. Despite the fact his name is actually McMahon. I'm not sure why. Like, was something wrong with addressing his name instead of calling director? So, and then apparently the Yor takes Okina and her son to their room, and then of course basically the director takes them afterwards. Oh, this happened at a bar. Meanwhile, though, he does notice like, oh, I forgot somebody at the bar, and because he noticed basically a suspicious guy who turns out to be an assassin. Ends up like breaking his fingers, break his arm, asking questions like, do you work for this particular person? And he doesn't answer. Eventually he does. Like, how many people on board? He doesn't really know. There's many. They're just independent operatives working with one person. And of course he mentions basically the room. And it's implied off screen, thanks to more bone cracking, he may have actually killed the guy. Like, behind like a wall. Like, supposedly he may have broken his skull or something, because see him dragging his body, dragging him out later on, and he throws him off a board. Oh, before I continue, there's a brief scene of all the assassins, one of whom will play a role in the episode, where one of them who basically has got like a shark teeth, and he's like, oh, because the Guardians involved. So it's like, why would he, in the course, one of the guys says, why is every woman with a child on board? And they'll think that's stupid, so they proceed to stab him. One in the gut, and the other one stabs him in the head. And it's like, we're not psychotic. And throws him off the board, and he's never seen again. Yep. And, well, the guy who's leading the group does show up later on when I'll get to that. So, they're in the room for a while, and of course, get knock on the door, and Yor, be very cautious, looks through the to the peephole, and it's room service. And Okina's like, we didn't order room service. And it turns out this assassin knows a knocker, where Yor knocks her on the floor with the baby on top, so she doesn't harm the baby. And then, of course, basically, McMahon comes back around with, of course, Zeb, and hits him with darts, and then basically Yor finishes him with one of her spikes, applying him right through the head, and create this big hole in the wall. And then, of course, he arranges in a room on the second class floor. And then the director calls up, hello, My wife and I basically have had a spat, and we destroyed her, and we actually damaged her. Can we get a new room, please? That was the excuse. So they proceeded to board up the room. They apparently don't board up the wall outside the room where the spike was. Yeah, they would later on see that the guy who was in charge of the assassins break into the room that was just sealed up. And he's like, he sniffs the room like, oh, I know this. Like, oh, and possibly that Yor does wear perfume. Probably to avoid suspicion. And that's it for him, the whole episode. Well, there's also a brief thing of the informant who's been like listening to all the info, all the wiretapping. He notices a couple of people who are paying visits, so he expect that. Oh, in case you're curious though, does Lloyd notice the wiretaps? Excuse me. Yes, he does. Does do anything about him? He can't really, because he's basically watching Anya. So then, of course, then we have this really cool, interesting scene where first let's have Yor, Zeb, Okina, and the baby, the 3-year-old, all wear masks. I get the other two wear masks, looks quite cool, but the baby wearing a mask is hilarious. Yes, put a mask on a 3-year-old child. I thought that was funny. Absolutely hilarious. And like, oh, there's a masquerade in the lounge. So then apparently, well, Yor tells him, like, stop. I smell blood. So he takes the button off Zeb's coat and knocks out the guy. And of course, the waiter thinks the guy is drunk. He's just been knocked out cold. And then another guy tries to walk by. And of course, this is probably another assassin. Then she proceeds to break his finger. So, oh yeah, I'm a married woman. And knock him out and put him in a chair. And then they're walking through. And then, of course, that's when Anya sees the sicko guy from when she's in the gift shop. And then he attacks Yor. And of course, basically throws a chain. And of course, Anya basically steps like, oh, look, it's a cool circus lady. And of course, she kind of basically lies to the fact this is a circus performance, despite the fact it really isn't. So, and of course, he beats him by tying him up with his own chain, pinning down one with a spike. And of course, hit these crucial points like on the head and the arm, presumably knock him out, and then just plop him a chair. And they proceed to get to the next room, where, and of course, like, it's a very nice looking room. It looks like a regular hotel room. It looks about a little bigger than what Anya has. Now, Anya, when she first came on board, she was very disappointed. She thought it was getting like a regular first class, like, well, even though it's third class, she thought it was getting a bigger room. And here's the thing about that about that room. That's very standard. Heck, I've been on a cruise ship, and I have been in the room that size. So Anya has something to complain about, but this room here has got like a two twin beds and a couch. And, of course, a small desk. And looks like a small bathroom, but they're going to show the bathroom. So, then, of course, basically, Zeb reveals why he sticks around with Okina. It's because he owes her debt. Because he gave her, because she gave him a piece of bread when they were kids. And it's implied that he has a thing for her. She doesn't know it yet, but from her perspective, this is perfectly fine. Because, basically, he, of course, would not trust the guy who replaced the previous boss because he owes the boss a big debt. And, of course, first was a scumbag because he works with, like, I think in the manga he says that he's working with extremists. In the anime, it's basically extreme politicians and basically do all really terrible stuff. Like, he's a really terrible boss. And he just wants to stick her because basically all debt. So then McMahon proceeds, and of course, McMahon comes by. Yor has to stay guard, and he, of course, patrols the floor. She puts a chair in front of the door and sleeps there in the chair. Now, Zeb now, of course, they can't take off their shoes, so he sleeps on top of the covers with his shoes on. I normally would not do this at all because I think it's quite silly to sleep on top of the covers. Sleep on top of a bed with shoes on. It's not very comfortable to do that. Now, in the case of Okina, she proceeds to go under the covers with her son right next to her. He's sound asleep, but she's wide awake. Probably because she's nervous. Zeb realizes, though, that, well, he can sleep soundly, but he probably can wake up pretty easily because even if he's a bit of a coward, he is very protective of Okina, which is quite nice. And the episode ends with basically you're basically questioning who's this mission for, and that's pretty much the episode. 2 really good episodes. I thoroughly enjoy them. Now, luckily, of course, next week we're back to 1 episode this time, not 2, so there's that. So, I was thinking of the Comic Corner, but because time, I can't. So, the Comic Corners will come tomorrow. So, basically, there's going to be about a total of 3 in it because basically you have Goblin Slayer, Ray Hero, and 100 Girlfriends. I'm also going to hopefully get a chance to do some more Super Sentai. Basically talking about a movie and a tribute episode of Gokaiger. It could be 1 to 2 episodes tomorrow, it depends. But, yeah, that's pretty much it, particular view. Stay tuned for tomorrow for those other videos. Okay, next video. Bye.